September 26, year 2000. Off the coast of the Gambia, the Atlantic swallowed a ship. In less than 5 minutes, nearly 2,000 lives were lost. Only 64 would survive. This is the story of Joola, a ferry that meant to connect, but instead remembered as one of the worst maritime disasters in human history. The Joola was built in Germany in year 1990 as part of Senegalese plan to strengthen its transportation system. It was a large roll-on, roll-off ferry named after the Joola ethnic group. Beautiful people from the green, fertile, and full of life of the Casamance region in southern Senegal. The ferry could carry 580 passengers, including vessels and cargo. It was operated by the Senegalese Navy and financed by the government. Its mission was to connect Ziguinchor, the heart of Casamance, to Dakar, the capital city, over 400 kilometers away. Casamance is separated from the rest of Senegal by the Gambia, a long and narrow strip of land which cuts through the country. This made sea travel vital for trade, education, and family connection. From the people of the south, the Joola was more than a ship. It was a bridge to opportunities. Students used it to reach universities at Dakar. Traders used it to move goods. Families depend on it for reunion and survival. Over time, the Joola became a victim of the same problem it was meant to solve: poor maintenance, corruption, and neglect. It was on a Thursday, the 26th of September, year 2002. The port of Ziguinchor was alive. Vendors shouted, children laughed, and passengers hurried to the boat, the familiar white and green ferry. For many, it was a routine trip, a journey they had made countless times. On board were students returning to school in Dakar, traders with their goods, soldiers heading for duties, and an entire family hoping for a safe arrival in the morning. But this time the ferry carried more than it ever should have. Although designed for 580 passengers, the Joola was loaded with over 1,800 people. Some reports suggest that it was even more than 2,000 people. People filled every corridors, some perhaps with no ticket, simply climbing aboard, trusting the sea and the system. Livestock, cars, bags of rice, and market goods added even more weight. By the evening, the ship was ready to sail, heavy, low, but full of lives and laughter. As the ship glided into the darkness of the Atlantic, destiny was already waiting beneath the ozone. When night fell, the wind grew stronger and a powerful storm began to build off the coast of the Gambia. The Joola was not designed and licensed to sail in such conditions. It was supposed to remain close to the shore, but that night it ventured into the open waters. At around 11 p.m., the sea turned violent. Waves battered the overloaded ferry. Inside, some passengers tried to sleep, unaware of what was coming. Then a sudden tilt. Panic spread as water rushed into the deck. Within moments, ferry rolled violently onto its side. The ship capsized in less than 5 minutes. There was no time for lifeboat, no mayday call. Most passengers were trapped inside the hull in darkness and chaos. Those on the deck were thrown into the raging sea, clinging on floating debris, their cries echoing into the storm. The Atlantic has swallowed the Joola. And in the morning the following day, the ocean was already calm. Floating clothes, bags, and pieces of the ferry, the storm has passed, leaving behind a sea of silence. Floating clothes, bags, and pieces of the ferry drifted slowly on the waves. Traces of the night that had swallowed nearly an entire generation. Local fishermen from the Gambian villages along the coastlines were the first to arrive. They had seen light in the distance the night before, but now all that remained were cries for help, the debris spreading across the endless blues of the ocean. One by one, they pulled survivors from the water. Men, women, and children clinging on anything that they could hold, trembling from cold and shock. Some clung on wooden planks, others had spent the whole night praying in the open sea. Their faces told stories that words could not, stories of fear, confusion, and disbelief. Only 64 people were saved. Over 1,800 were gone, more than the Titanic's tragedy. Students heading back to Dakar for the reopening of schools vanished. Families disappeared without trace. Entire villages in the Casamas lost sons, daughters, and breadwinners in a single night. Among the dead were 13 Gambians, as well as travelers from Guinea-Bissau, Mali, France, and other countries. It was not just a national tragedy, it was a regional breakdown. For days, bodies washed offshore along the Gambian coastline, a painful reminder of how quickly life can end when safety is ignored. Some were found in mangroves, others on the sandy beaches where children once played. Mass burials were held as tears filled the air. Some buried in the Gambia and others in Senegal. Radio stations went silent and markets closed. The entire region mourned together, united in grief, disbelief, and anger. As the days went on, one question began to echo louder than all others. How could this happen? When the news reaches Dakar, grief turned into fury. How could a government-owned vessel be allowed to sail in such conditions, so overloaded into the storm? An official investigation revealed a chain of negligence. Ferry had not been properly maintained for months. Its stabilizers were faulty. Its operators ignored safety limits. There were not enough life jackets, and crew training was very minimal. The government declared 3 days of national mourning. Speeches were made, but for many families, words were not enough. Angry crowd demanded justice. Mothers who lost their children called for accountability. Some accused officials of hiding the truth. In the end, the captain who perished in the disaster was blamed. But survivors and family argued that responsibility went higher, into the heart of the system itself. The tragedy exposes deeper issues: corruption, neglect, and a system where no one was punished for their actions. In the years that followed, Joola became a symbol, not just of a tragedy, but of memory. The wreck remained on the waters, just off the coast of the Gambia, serving as both grave and a reminder. Each year on September 26, families gathered in Ziguinchor and Dakar to remember their loved ones. For some, healing never came. Many bodies were never recovered. Children grew up without parents. Parents grew old without ever seeing their children again. The Senegalese government promised a new ferry better safety standard, and support for victims' families. Some progress we have made, but the emotional scars remain. Even today, many say Joola was not just a ship that sank, it was a lesson ignored too late. More than 2 decades have passed since that tragic night, but in Senegal, the Gambia and across Africa, Joola is still spoken with sorrow and disbelief. It was not the sea that killed those people. It was neglect. It was complacency. It was the silence of the system that failed to protect its own citizens. Yet out of the pain came unity. The disaster inspired new voices calling for transparency, safety, and responsibility in African transport systems. It reminded leaders that development without responsibility and accountability is a journey headed for disaster. Joola's tragedy was not just Senegalese or Gambian loss, it was Africa's wake-up call. A reminder that progress without responsibility and accountability is danger in disguise. The ocean took their bodies, but not their voices. Their story still calls for change.